On the island of Mindanao in the southern Philippines, Islamic terror has been a problem since the 1970s. But now, radical Islamist factions have joined forces and aligned themselves with ISIS. In May 2017, several hundred fighters took over the city of Marawi and declared a caliphate stronghold in Southeast Asia. The Philippine army is fighting back, but the resulting battle has turned out to be much more difficult than anyone predicted. Our Frontlines team traveled to the Philippines to find out why.
As the Islamic State loses ground in Iraq and Syria, its followers are trying to open a new front here in Southeast Asia. Five weeks ago, militants loyal to IS seized control of this city. Government forces are still fighting to take it back.
The battle against ISIL has come to Southeast Asia. For 5 months, fighters held the city of Marawi in the southern Philippines. Declaring it a new caliphate of the Islamic State. It led to a bloody and deadly fight against Philippine forces.
On May 23, 2017, ISIS-inspired Maute and Abu Sayyaf groups laid siege on the city of Marawi.
I had to declare martial law in the Mindanao group of islands.
When a nation's freedom is threatened by a fanatical reign of terror, extraordinary men of courage and determination step up to the challenge to liberate the oppressed. Servicemen willing to sacrifice their lives for God and country. Decisive leadership, efficient planning, and the ability to adapt to a complex enemy was crucial in the Battle of Marawi.
Naalala niyo yung ginagawa natin dati?
Sir Roger, account muna kayo dito bago kayo alis ha. Subukan natin butasin na Leon para makita natin.
When ISIS-linked militants took control of Marawi more than a month ago, the Philippine government responded by declaring martial law in the region and launching an all-out siege on the city. More than 400,000 people have fled their homes. And while most have found shelter with relatives in nearby towns and villages, more than 18,000 are confined to overcrowded evacuation centers. But there are still hundreds trapped inside the city, waiting for help and hoping to make it out alive.
Instead, the government has enlisted the help of this man, a former rebel leader who goes by the nickname Bin Laden.
Do you know the guys who are fighting?
Yes, mostly of them, I know them. That's why they trust me, because not just my friends, they are there are blood.
Aga Khan Sharif has been helping broker a peace deal between the government and the ISIS-linked militant group, Maute.
Are you in daily communication with the Maute brothers?
Yes, actually, last 3 a.m. I contacted.
3 a.m. today, you spoke to them?
Yes. How are you? They will fine.
And what did they say about the situation in Marawi?
They
situation
said
that they're in?
They will die, inshallah. They will rather die than to surrender. I am very sad what is happening now. Because the victims, it's the civilians, not them. Because them, even they die, they will marry virgins according to them. But the problem is the civilians.
Bin Laden has successfully negotiated 2 peace corridors, allowing civilians safe passage from the war zone. But these passageways only lasted a matter of hours before fighting resumed. Those who do manage to escape find their way to military checkpoints like this one that process families and screen for suspected militants.
Does this little guy have a name yet?
His nickname, Marshall.
Mashallah. Hi, little Mashallah. Hi, everybody.
As the fighting was flaring up around them, Emma Mimbalawag was going into labour. She gave birth just after arriving at this shelter.
Naglilibur na ako na. Hindi ko na alam kung anong nangyayari. Putukan lang sila ng putukan. Takot sobrang kung mag-alala ko kasi.
Kaya nga bigla yung mga anak ko na bigla silang tumakbo. Yun, ang umpisa nag-iwalay kami.
Pero yung isa hindi pa
Here in Marawi, two groups of militants have joined forces. The Abu Sayyaf has been terrorizing the Philippines for 20 years, and another local group founded in 2012 by the Mauti brothers. Both groups' leaders have declared their determination to fight for an independent Islamic state in the Philippines.
Inshallah, kita buta lagi kawanan. Yun ang itsura niya, yun ang nasa akin. Kabilang sa mga plano natin, paano tayo makapasok? Andito na tayo, alhamdulillah. Paano natin gagawin? Ito na ano yung itsura na paano natin gawin ito. Lagyan natin ng mga tao. Mga gambus na. Ito na ang plano natin.
The man with the map is Omar Mauti, one of the leaders of the Mauti brothers' military group attempting to take control of Marawi town. They've sworn their allegiance to ISIS. In the middle is the Philippines' #1 terrorist, named Isnalon Hapilon, the leader of the other extremist group, Abu Sayyaf, and self-declared emir of the Philippines Islamic State. There's a $5 million reward on his head.
There were around 400 militants equipped with high-powered firearms. They have established defensive positions like machine gun nests, sniper's nests, and they barricaded some buildings with IED bombs, fuel bombs, LPG bombs, and these may cause a huge damage to their lives and properties.
Aerial assaults continued throughout the day as rockets were fired in the direction of Marawi city center. The Mauti group terrorists are nowhere to be seen, but everywhere they make their presence felt. Street by street, house by house, the armed forces inches forward to retake Marawi. It's a risky process because even if they control one street, the Mauti group snipers are firing at them from the next one. This is the brand of danger looming over Marawi city, quiet and hidden until it explodes in front of you. Government forces are trying to take back Marawi city section by section, but there are still parts of the city that seem to be in control of the Mauti group still. Just across that bridge, you can see vehicles strewn in the middle of the street, and around it there are several ISIS flags. That is the Mapandi Bridge, one of the entry points leading to the center of Marawi city. The military has found it difficult to retake the bridge because of snipers in position and because of the possibility that it could have been rigged with a bomb.
We're pretty close to the front line here. The fighting is intense and it is sustained. It has been going on like this now for several hours.
It's quite difficult to film a moving aircraft against a bright lit sky. It's quite difficult to get it in focus, to get the exposure right. They were using fighter jets, they were using helicopters. Tried to get those, and a few occasions you get them dropping bombs, and it's, you know, people in the buildings were, you know, getting smashed. I realised fairly quickly that they were doing so much bombing, I had plenty of opportunities to get the shots. It was just constant.
What do they want? Establish a caliphate where ISIS or Daesh will rule. It's war. Filipinos against Filipinos. Soldiers, terrorists, battle over territory and flag.
Before hostilities began, around 100,000 families lived in Marawi. Narrow, winding streets link the slums with the more well-to-do areas. The terrorists know the city like the back of their hands and don't hesitate to use the advantage, even after 2 months of fighting. The army keeps finding hidden weapons and explosives, mopping up operations in areas where civilians used to live are now a daily occurrence.
Ang kulungan ng baka eh. Walang tao siguro, walang tao. Pila tayo. Yung dalawa dito. Say.
Nagawangan nila. Hindi namin alam kung bakit ano yung pinaglalaban nila. Sinira nga nila yung Ramadan nila rito. Yung full duration ng Ramadan nila nasira kasi yun na, binastos nila yung kapwa nila Maranao. Yung Muslim at saka Christian, only yung religion lang ang pinagkaiba niya. Pero magkakalahi tayo Pilipino tayo lahat So actually, ang tropa ko is halo-halo yan. May Muslim din, saka Christian. So wala man pinagkakaiba, only the religion. Yun lang.
An area because of those snipers. There's no cover or concealment right there. Just a little short place that we probably shouldn't walk across.
The terrorists have in place thousands of improvised explosive devices throughout the city, just like we experienced in the fight for Mosul. It makes clearing these buildings a slow and dangerous job.
A lot of improvised explosive devices right now being rigged in the different houses.
So you have to be very careful once you secure an area to go through and clear each one very systematically, right?
House by house, building by building, rooms by rooms, we have our troops across the bridge or across the Agus River. They're doing it, that's that thing slowing them. In the process of clearing this house, they found 2 kilos of the poor man's cocaine, the methamphetamine.
Oh,
right?
meth, yeah.
Yes,
that's what they're using to stay hopped up, right?
2 kilos was found in this house.
We've heard that they're using the human shields as slaves to help reinforce them further.
That is the report, and based on our interview, because our unit is the one directly in front of the 2 bridges, the first and the second bridges. These are the access of the civilians coming out. There are 2 types, those ones that are being negotiated to come out, and those that escape. Some of these people are being used as decoys. They are really forced to cross. And in the moment we are exposed, we take shots. It happened a lot of time. So we have to wait for them to have a covered position for these people before we meet them.
So we've just gone and picked up 3 people who escaped across the bridge from the ISIS positions to friendly forces over here on this side of the river. And we've brought them to a little processing center because they have to check and make sure that they're not actually bad guys and figure out where they need to go and what they need to do now. And the very interesting thing about this group is that they're Catholics who were trapped and were made to work, were made to help those ISIS fighters. They're also giving reports of young boys being made to pick up arms and fight for ISIS.
The other day, they said that women are being taken as wives of these terrorist groups. The men are forced to take up arms.
Even young boys, right?
16 years old, just the other day. They told us that at first they were hesitant, but 2 friends were killed in front of them, so they were forced.
You've served in southern Philippines before, you said?
Yes, for 10 years, and the tactics has changed over time. Before they occupied a camp or a jungle. Now they are trying to occupy big cities. Before they won't occupy the mosque, the places of worship. Now they're occupying the places of worship. Before they take only a few hostages, but now it's 100, 200 hostages they're taking.
If they're really Muslims, why are they destroying the place of Muslims? Almost 98% are Muslim in Marawi City, so why are they doing the fight in the city?
That's interesting you say that, because in the United States, when people hear that Marawi City is almost all Muslim, they think that the Muslims support what they're doing there.
No, Muslims are not supporting what they are doing. No one support them. In fact, all Muslim, all people living in this Marawi City are peace-loving people. We don't support any group, like they call them multi-group. We don't support them.
We are on the front line, and for the past couple of hours or so, we have been witnessing swarms of the Philippines Army going from house to house, street to street, to flush out the militants who have occupied a specific part of this city for the past couple of weeks or so. Just about half an hour ago, we were told that there was a sniper just about 4 houses down. It was a very tense situation. There were dozens of soldiers crouched waiting for him to appear. There was a lot of gunfire exchange, and we have then seen them moving systematically around these streets. Now, the problem that they have is that they understand that there are about 200 or so of these Mote fighters trapped in this area. Now, the army has pretty much encircled this specific part of the town. The rest of it has been cleared. But the problem that they're having is that they believe that 200 or so residents are being held hostage, and that is really what is slowing the campaign down. They have to be very, very careful with their tactics, because of course they want to minimize any civilian casualties.
These buildings were previously occupied by the terrorists.
Are they still here?
Those were shooting at us.
Where are their snipers?
Yeah, the big buildings over there.
How close?
200 to 250 meters.
These forces are turning this bombed-out school into a sniper outpost and preparing to attack.
We have one pilot position there, taking fire. Enemy snipers across the river. We have another one inside here.
Can you see the enemy snipers from here?
From our scopes, yes.
Okay.
We can see their muzzle flashes right now. Follow me. And under the table, Okay, makita ko yung target. Engage. Ready. Fire.
Nakita mo yung butas doon, tapos butas niya.
Ready.
Fire.
Aim high, 1-8. Palabasin mo dyan, Dave. Baka may counter sniper pa. Ready. Fire.
They have to leave this area. We just shot fired, so we expect a counter attack to us. Okay? Just follow me.
The only functioning building in this part of town is the tactical command post of 1 Marine Battalion, the main forward operating base for the armed forces.
We're being fired at?
Yes.
From where?
From that position.
From that position?
Yes.
Okay. So we should keep a low profile.
Yeah.
Okay. Have they managed to fire in here into the base before?
This is still a hot zone.
Major Rowan Remus is one of the commanding officers who's been stationed here since the fighting began.
Firing!
Can you just show us where the enemy is?
Okay, this is Mapandi Bridge. Before, this was well defended. So they place car bombs, roadblocks, and they employed sniper fires.
So the city is essentially divided by this river going
Yes.
through. Okay. So the enemy is contained within this area on the other side of the bridge.
Other side of the bridge.
Okay.
Now, the target of our maneuvering elements is to neutralize those vantage positions through our mortar fire.
Sounds close.
Pag matapos, taka naman.
city with airstrikes, and they're just about to send this mortar into enemy territory.
End of mission, sir. Over.
Improvised explosive devices and effective enemy sniper fire were major obstacles that deterred advancing troops. Underground tunnels made them highly mobile.
Hindi ka matatanong mga mudyanin! Granada yun sir, kung suicide niya ba?
I hereby declare Marawi City liberated from the terrorist influence that marks the beginning of rehabilitation.
The Battle of Marawi evolved to be the longest and deadliest war the Philippines faced in the history of modern warfare since World War II.
Am I the reason you get stoned every week now? Build up integrity, got you texting, emailing me, wanting me to feel with you. Baby, just face reality, move on.
Sometimes it's hard to face reality.